The colony alarm woke at dawn. The sound was wrong, not the standard safety test that happened every month. This was the real warning, the one they had hoped would never come. Moved fast through the corridors of the settlement. His skin rippled with blue light, a sign of stress that he could not hide. The other who passed him moved with the same fear. They knew. Everyone knew what this meant. The command center was chaos. Workers ran between stations. The main screen showed 3 warships entering the planet's atmosphere. No warning broadcast, no diplomatic message, just attack. Reached his chair and looked at the military commander, unnamed. "How long?" asked. "Minutes," said. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. "They are moving fast, very fast. They want us dead." They were not fighters. This was not their way. They had built a peaceful society across many worlds. They talked and negotiated. They made agreements. They believed in the power of words, but words meant nothing to the collective. The first explosion came from the outer station. The ground shook. Workers fell to the floor, gripped the armrest of his chair. He thought of his family in the settlement below, his mate. His 2 young ones, they were in the shelter now. At least he hoped they were. "Send the distress signal," said. "Send to the Galactic Council. Tell them we are under attack. Tell them we need help." Moved to the communication panel. His fingers flew across the controls. The message went out into space, a cry for help to the great powers that had promised to protect the. They had joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. It was supposed to mean safety. It was supposed to mean that the great powers would come if danger called. The Council had ships. The Council had weapons. The Council had promised. More explosions. The settlement shook again. One of the walls cracked. Cold air from outside pushed in through the break. An emergency seal moved into place, cutting off that section. Those people were trapped now. "How are the defenses?" asked. "Failing," said. "Our shields cannot hold against their fire. They are too strong, too many." Stood and looked at the main screen. The 3 warships moved closer. The collective did not want to negotiate. They did not want to talk. They wanted to destroy the colony and everything in it. Hours passed. They fought with the only weapons they had. But they were weak weapons, defensive tools they had never built for war. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were designed to protect, not to kill. By the time the sun set, the outer defenses were gone. The ships landed troops. Soldiers poured from the ships like water. They wore armor that gleamed. They carried weapons that burned bright. Sent another message to the Galactic Council. Then another. He asked for ships. He asked for weapons. He asked for anything that could help them survive. The answers came back slowly. The first response was from Council Representative Vex. "We understand your situation. We will discuss your request at the next Council meeting. This is a complex matter that requires careful consideration. Please hold your position." Skin went cold with something darker than fear. "They are sending soldiers into our city," he told Vex through the communication link. "They are killing my people. I need help now, not in a meeting, not in discussions, now." "The Council must follow protocol," Vex responded. "We cannot simply send military ships without proper authorization. There are rules." Rules? While his people died, the Council wanted to follow rules. Another response came from the Alliance. They expressed deep concern. They said they would monitor the situation. They said they hoped they could find a peaceful solution. A peaceful solution. They had weapons and soldiers. They did not want peace. They wanted conquest. By the second day, the fighting had moved into the city. Could see the fires from the command center. He could see homes burning. He could see his people running, hiding, dying. Came to him with a new message. "A human named Captain has sent a communication. He is stationed far from here. He says he is receiving the distress signals. He says he wants to help." Felt a strange hope. Humans. The word meant danger to most of the galaxy. Humans came from a world called Earth. A planet so harsh that any species born there had to be violent and strong just to survive. The Galactic Council had reached out to the humans years ago, but then decided to keep them at a distance. Too dangerous, too unpredictable, too likely to cause problems. But this human, this captain, was offering to help. "Send him our position," said. "Tell him everything, tell him we are dying." Another message came from the Galactic Council. This one was harder to hear. "We have decided that the situation at the colony is not a direct threat to Council security. The collective claims they are taking the colony under their own protection. We cannot interfere with this action without risking wider conflict. We advise you to surrender. Surrender is your safest option. The Council will work with the to ensure humane treatment of prisoners. Surrender, give up everything. Watch his world be taken. Watch his people become slaves or worse. Looked at, the commander's skin had turned a dark gray, the color of despair. There is one other option, said slowly. The humans, Captain, he answered our call. The Council will call it treason, said. Asking for help, the Council will call it the end of everything. Everything is already ending, said. The only question is whether we let it happen while we follow the rules or whether we fight. He moved to the communication panel himself. His hands moved slowly, carefully. He encoded a direct message to Captain. He told the human everything. He told him about the attack. He told him about the Council's refusal to help. He told him that they were asking for aid from those the galaxy had forgotten and pushed away. The message went out into the dark of space, a prayer to a distant people who might not answer, a prayer to those the galaxy called primitives and then waited. They kept pushing, they kept killing, the colony was dying. But for the first time since the alarm woke him that morning, felt something besides despair. He felt a small light in the darkness. The had answered. The humans had heard the cry of those everyone else had abandoned. Captain sat in the communication room and read the message 3 times. Each time his jaw got. They were dying, the Galactic Council had abandoned them. And now these peaceful aliens were asking humans for help. Knew what this meant. Breaking protocol to help would ruin his career. The Council had rules. You did not interfere with other Council disputes. You did not send military force without authorization. You certainly did not send soldiers to fight the Collective, one of the most dangerous military powers in known space. But had not become a soldier to follow rules when people were being killed. He left the communication room and went straight to the command center. Admiral was there, studying star charts. She had led the human fleet for 6 years. She was the reason humans were still allowed near Council space at all. Many Council members wanted to ban humans from everything, but had proven that humans were more than just violent. Admiral said, I have a situation. Looked up, she was in her 50s, with gray in her dark hair and a face that showed years of making hard choices. Go ahead, she said. He told her about the attack. He told her about the Council's response. He told her about his desperate message asking for help. Listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. This will cause problems, she said finally. I know, said, but they asked. They are asking the humans. They are asking us because they believe we will help, because we are the only ones who will help. Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. They are brutal, she said. They will fight hard. We have no idea what we are walking into. I know, said again. And the Council will come down on us like a storm, continued. They will call it interference. They will call it war. They will use this as proof that humans cannot be trusted. Probably, agreed. But is that the kind of human we want to be? Is that what we came to the stars for, to watch innocent people die because it is easier to follow rules? Turned back to face him. Her dark eyes were hard. Gather the senior commanders, she said. We have a council of war to call. 2 hours later, the conference room was full. Commanders from every human ship in deep space. Some had traveled through the night to get there. All of them understood this was serious. Stood at the head of the table. They are under attack, she said. She played the message she showed them the star charts showing the distance. A long journey, days to get there if they pushed hard. This is insane, Commander said. He was a tactical officer, a big man with a face. They will destroy us. We have no idea what we are walking into. True, said. But the alternative is to let innocent people die, to prove to the galaxy that humans are not worth the space they take up. We are supposed to be building trust, another commander said, a woman named Carol. This will destroy everything we have worked for. No, said, and her voice was sharp now. What destroys trust is abandoning allies. What destroys trust is saying you care about peace and then turning away when people need you. The Council had a chance to help. They chose to hide. Now we have a chance to show what humans really are. The Council will call it war, said. They will call it treason. Let them, replied. Some things are worth more than following orders. Some things are worth being called traitors for. They did not ask for much. They asked to stay alive. They asked for help from the only people who would answer. We are going to show them that humans keep their promises. We are going to show the galaxy that humans are worth something, even if it costs us everything." The room was silent, then spoke again. "I am with you," he said. "My ships are ready to move." One by one, the other commanders agreed. They knew the cost. They knew the danger. They knew the Galactic Council would probably ban human ships from Council space forever, but they agreed anyway. Gave orders, the fleet was to prepare for travel. Engineers were to check every ship. Weapons were to be loaded. Soldiers were to put on combat gear. They had a journey ahead, and at the end of it, they would either save thee or die trying. The message went out to the rest of the human colony on Earth. Families were told their soldiers were being deployed. Wives and husbands held each other. Children cried because they understood that some of their parents might not come back. But the fleet prepared anyway. A young lieutenant named David worked in weapons storage. He loaded ammunition. He checked weapons. He thought about his family back on Earth. His wife was pregnant. His child would be born while he was in space. He might never see his son or daughter. But that child would grow up in a galaxy where humans had done the right thing, even when it cost them. That meant something. On the command ship, stood in the observation deck and looked out at the fleet. 23 ships, 17,000 soldiers, all of them willing to risk everything for people they had never met. She sent one more message to the Council, this one official and formal. She told them that human forces were responding to a distress call from the colony. She told them that humans would help protect them from the attack. She told them that this was what humans did. They protected the weak. They helped those in need. They kept their promises. The Council's response came back within the hour. They called the action a violation of treaty. They demanded the human fleet stand down. They warned that humans would be banned from Council space. They said humans were proving themselves to be the violent animals the Council had always feared. Read the message and then deleted it. She did not care what the Council said anymore. She had made her choice. Humanity had made its choice. The colony looked like it was dying. The human fleet emerged from jump space and saw the destruction immediately. 3 large warships hung above the planet like sharks over blood. Below them, the colony was burning. Buildings were broken. Smoke rose from the ground. Admiral stood on the bridge of her ship, the flagship named Courage. "All ships assume attack formation," she ordered. "Weapons hot, shields up. We are going to give these a message about what happens when they choose the wrong target." The human ships moved into position. They were not as big as the vessels. They were not as heavily armored. But humans had learned something about warfare on there. You did not always win with size. You won with speed and smart thinking. Captain Anna piloted the fastest human ship, a scout vessel called Striker. She received new orders from Admiral. "Striker, I need a distraction. Can you do it?" Anna smiled. She had been hoping for this. "I can be very distracting, Admiral," she responded. She pushed her ship's engines to maximum. Striker shot forward, moving fast and unpredictable. The ships reacted exactly as she wanted. They turned their weapons toward her. They did not expect a small human ship to be so bold. They did not expect speed and courage from what they saw as primitive beings. Anna flew her ship in impossible patterns. She twisted and turned. She used the planet's gravity to accelerate. She did everything in the manual that said not to do it. Her ship was damaged and slow compared to newer vessels, but she could make it dance. The fired space filled with energy beams. Most of them missed. Anna was too fast, too unpredictable. She laughed as her ship took hits that should have killed her. They were strong, but they were not creative. They were not hungry. They did not have the instinct to survive that came from being born on a world that tried to kill you every day. While they were focused on Anna's ship, the rest of the human fleet moved into position. They launched a coordinated attack. Weapons fired from multiple angles. The ships had not expected this kind of speed. They had not expected humans to be this brave or this smart. The largest ship took heavy damage. It tried to turn, but it was too slow. A human missile struck its engine section. The ship lost power and started falling toward the planet. Down on the ground, Commander led a team of soldiers. They moved through the ruined streets of the colony, heading toward the civilian shelter. Around them, soldiers fought hard. They were trained. They were tough, but they had not expected opposition. They had expected them to surrender or die quietly. Soldiers moved fast and used every advantage. They used the ruins for cover. They knew how to fight in places that were broken and dangerous. Their bones were denser than most species. Their hearts were stronger. They could run farther and hit harder than beings who grew up on easier worlds. A soldier jumped out from behind a collapsed wall, did not hesitate. He moved forward, grabbed this weapon, and threw the soldier through a window. Simple, effective, no second thoughts. "Move fast," told his team. "Get those civilians out, we do not have much time." They reached the shelter. The entrance was blocked by fallen stone. Soldiers worked quickly. They lifted the heavy material. Some of them were bleeding, some of them had broken bones, but they kept working. This was what humans did. This was what it meant to be born on a world that did not forgive weakness. The civilians started coming out. They were shocked. They had been hiding in the dark, listening to the sounds of fighting, expecting death, and now humans were there. Humans who were strong and dangerous and willing to bleed for people they did not know. An old woman looked at, her face was covered in dust. "The humans came," she said quietly. "The came." "We came," said, "and we are not leaving without you." In space, the battle was reaching a turning point. 2 of the 3 warships were badly damaged. They were trying to flee. Captain Anna followed one of them, firing weapons, pushing her damaged ship beyond its limits. Her crew was hurt. Her ship was barely holding together, but she did not stop. The ship's shields failed. Anna fired everything she had left. The warship exploded in a flash of light. Anna's ship was hit by the explosion. Alarms screamed. Fire broke out in the engine room, but her ship kept flying. The 3rd warship decided enough was enough. It jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared. The remaining soldiers on the ground realized their support was gone. They were trapped. Some tried to fight harder, some tried to retreat. But the humans were too fast, too aggressive, too willing to use every dirty trick they had learned on their harsh world. The humans did not fight by the rules that the galaxy understood. They fought to win. By sunset, the ground battle was over. The soldiers were either dead or captured. The civilians were safe, at least for now. Stood in the ruins of the city, looking at the fires still burning on the horizon. His soldiers gathered around him. They were tired, they were hurt. Some of them would not make it back to the fleet, but they had done it. They had saved people. An elderly human soldier named Joseph walked over too. Joseph had been in combat for 30 years. "This was clean," he said. "We did good here." Nodded, he thought about his own family back on Earth. He thought about all the families of all the soldiers who had given their lives. He thought about what it meant that humans had shown up when the galaxy had turned away. Above them in space, the human fleet was still fighting the last remaining forces. Slowly, they were being pushed back. Their ships were damaged. Their soldiers were fleeing. They had come to conquer a weak species, and they had run into the most dangerous force they had ever encountered. Admiral watched the battle displays on her bridge. She saw the victory coming. She saw what humans could do when they decided to care about something, when they decided that keeping a promise was worth any cost. She opened a channel on the planet below. "This is Admiral, the attack is ending. Your colony is secure. You are not alone anymore." Stood in the command center and listened to these words. He had thought his people would die. He had thought they would be erased from history. But the humans had come. They had heard his cry and they had responded. The communication from the Galactic Council came 3 days after the battle ended. It was a summons. Admiral was ordered to bring a delegation to the council chambers. The message was cold and formal. It did not congratulate the humans. It did not thank them. It simply ordered their presence. Knew what this meant. The council wanted to have the conversation about what humans had done and why they had done it. They wanted to explain how the humans had violated every rule and treaty. They wanted to punish humanity for caring about the... She gathered her officers. Besides herself, she brought Captain, who had started all of this. She brought Commander, who had led the ground assault. She brought Captain Anna, whose reckless flying had turned the tide of the space battle, and she brought a representative himself. The council chambers were large and cold. The council members sat at a high platform looking down at the humans. It was arranged that way on purpose to make visitors feel small, but did not feel small. She felt angry. Council Elder Vex spoke first. "You have violated the treaties that bind the Galactic Alliance. You have interfered with a dispute that was not your concern. You have sent military force without authorization. You have acted as if your species has the right to make decisions that affect all member worlds." Listened to all of this without moving. Then she spoke. "We received a distress call. A species that is part of the Alliance was being attacked. We responded to that call. We did what any honorable civilization would do. You acted without permission, another council member elder said. That is not your role in this alliance. No, agreed. Our role is to stand aside and watch innocents die while you argue about protocol. That is what you wanted. That is what they experienced. Stepped forward. The council abandoned us, he said. His voice was steady but filled with pain. We sent messages. We asked for help. We told you our children were dying, and you told us to surrender. You told us to hope for mercy from those who wanted to kill us. Then humans arrived. Humans that you call primitive. Humans that you pushed away from galactic society. And they risked everything to save my people. Elder Vex's face changed. The humans will be banned from Council space, he announced. Their ships will not be allowed to dock at any Council world. Their traders will not be permitted to conduct business. Their diplomats will not be accepted. This is the price of your disobedience. Felt the weight of this punishment, but she also felt something else, certainty she had made the right choice. That is your decision to make, said. But before you make it final, I want to ask you something. How many of your own soldiers did the kill before they decided to conquer the colony? How many Council worlds fell before you decided the collective was a threat? How many times did they break your rules and threaten your worlds before you took action? The Council members were silent. I will tell you, continued. 12 Council soldiers died, 5 Council worlds were threatened. They killed 2,000 Council citizens before the Council finally said that enough was enough and took military action. But they asked for help and you abandoned them. Why? Because they were weak. Because helping them would be inconvenient, because it would mess with your plans and your careful balance of power. You are speaking to the Galactic Council with disrespect, Elder said, his voice hard. No, replied. I am speaking to the Galactic Council with truth. I am telling you that your whole system is broken. You built an alliance that only protects the strong. You created a government where the weakest members have no voice and no hope, and you are surprised when someone steps outside your system to do what is right. Added his voice. The humans showed us more kindness than the Council ever did. They asked nothing in return. They risked their own soldiers. They bled for my people, and now you punish them for it. What does that say about your alliance? What does that say about your values? For a long moment, the Council chambers were quiet. Many of the Council members looked uncomfortable. Some looked angry, but some looked like they were thinking about what and had said. Finally, a younger Council member, someone named Vale, spoke up. Perhaps we should reconsider the human ban, she said quietly. Perhaps we should reconsider why we abandoned thee in the first place. Elder Vex's face turned dark. That is not for discussion, he said sharply. But the suggestion hung in the air. Other Council members started whispering to each other. A few of them nodded. The idea that the Council had been wrong was spreading like a virus. Over the next week, the debate grew louder. Some Council members called for punishing the humans, but others, especially the younger members and those who had always doubted the old Council ways, called for change. They called for the alliance to be reformed. They called for rules that protected all members equally, not just the powerful. The Council was fracturing. The comfortable system that had existed for hundreds of years was falling apart. Did not fight directly for her people's position. She simply presented the facts. She showed the Council how long the distress signals had been ignored. She showed them the weapons that had failed to arrive. She showed them the decision to abandon She let the facts speak for themselves. Did something powerful. He arranged for images of the destroyed colony to be shown to the entire Council. He showed them the burned homes. He showed them the graves of children. He showed them what abandonment looked like. And he showed them the humans, working side by side to rebuild, treating the survivors with respect and kindness, asking for nothing in return, just helping. A week after the hearing, the Council called for a vote. The human ban was rejected. Instead, the Council voted to open an investigation into how the distress call had been handled. They voted to change the rules for how the Council responded to attacks on member worlds. They voted that all species, weak or strong, would have equal rights to Council protection. It was not everything it hoped for. The Council was still broken in many ways, but it was a start. It was a crack in the old system. Elder Vex announced that he was stepping down as Council leader. Several other old Council members said they would retire. Change was coming. When the session ended and stood together outside the Council chambers, "Will your people forgive the Council?" asked. Was quiet for a moment. "No," he said finally. But perhaps the council will forgive themselves, and perhaps next time they will do better. They will remember what it means when an alliance abandons its own people. Nodded, she thought about her soldiers who had died. She thought about the families who would be missing members when the fleet returned home. She thought about the price of doing the right thing. But she also thought about the children who would grow up now, who would least 6 months had passed since the battle. The colony looked alive again. Buildings were rising from the rubble. Workers moved through the streets. The smell of fresh paint and new material filled the air, but the feeling of death that had filled this place was gone. Stood in the center of the main plaza. Around him, humans and worked together. They lifted beams. They painted walls. They laughed and talked and built something new from the ashes of destruction. A monument stood at the edge of the plaza. It was simple but strong. A wall of black stone with names carved into it. Names, human names, every soldier who had died in the battle to save this colony, the humans who had bled so that could live, the who had fought back against impossible odds. Captain approached. The large human had scars on his face and bandages on one arm. A blade had cut him during the ground assault. But he was healing. Humans always healed. The new colony center will be finished tomorrow, said. We are going to have a celebration, music, food, dancing if your people want to dance. Felt blue light move across his skin. Joy, gratitude. Yes, he said. We will celebrate life, we will celebrate that we are still here. Nodded. I have to return to Earth in a few days, he said. The human military is sending me back. I have been gone for too long. Will you come back? Asked. Yes, said. I will come back. This is not the kind of place you leave and forget. This is the kind of place that changes you forever. In the colony's communication center, Captain worked on establishing new communication networks. Had been the first to hear the distress call. He had been the one who had risked everything to bring that message to Admiral. And now he was working to make sure that no colony in the galaxy would ever have to send a desperate message into the dark and wait alone for an answer. A young approached him. Her name was, she had been born in the colony. She had lived through the attack. She had seen humans fight to protect her. Captain, she said, I want to learn how to work with your communication systems. I want to help other colonies that need help. Smiled. That is a good goal, he said. We need people like you. People who understand what it means when no one answers a call for help. People who will make sure it never happens again. Admiral was on Earth. She had returned to give her report to the human government. The Council had not banned humans from Council space after all. The investigation into the case had caused real change. New rules were being written. New protocols. The Alliance was becoming something different, something better. But knew that was not why the humans had come. They had not come for political power or position. They had come because it was right, and that mattered more than anything else. She met with the families of the soldiers who had died. There were 34 of them, 34 humans who would never go home, 34 empty spaces in human society. To each family, told them the same thing. Your loved one saved an entire species from extinction. Your loved one showed the galaxy what humans are really made of. Your loved one is a hero, not just to humans, but to every species in the Alliance that now knows humans keep their promises. The families listened. Some of them cried. Some of them felt pride. All of them felt the weight of their loss. But they also felt something else. They felt that their loss meant something. It had changed the galaxy. On the colony, the celebration happened at sunset. Humans and gathered in the plaza. There was music. There was food. There was dancing and laughter and stories being told over and over again. An old human soldier named Joseph sat with an old named. They did not share a common language very well, but they did not need words. They had both survived something impossible. They had both seen death close and ugly. And they had both chosen to live and help others do the same. A young human soldier, a woman named Lisa, danced with a young named Tal. Their species were different. Their cultures were different. But in that moment under the alien stars, they were the same. They were both young. They were both alive because of choices that had been made. They were both grateful for every moment. Watched all of this. He watched humans and mixing. He watched them building together. He watched them creating something new. He thought about the moment when he had sent that desperate message to Captain. He had thought it was the end. He had thought his people would die alone and forgotten, abandoned by the great powers of the galaxy. But the message had found humans, and humans had come. The next morning, the human fleet prepared to leave. Most of them would return to distant human colonies. Some would stay to help finish rebuilding, but soon all of them would go home. Admirals stood on the landing platform around them, soldiers hugged friends they had made. Some of them would never see each other again, but they would remember. "Thank you," said simply. "I do not have words big enough for what you have done." Put a hand on his shoulder. "You do not need words," she said. "You need to remember this moment. You need to remember that when you were abandoned, someone came. And you need to make sure that you are that someone for others. That is how you repay what humans did here, by doing the same thing for those who have no one else." Nodded, he understood. The debt could not be paid to humans. The debt had to be paid forward to others, to a universe that needed more species willing to bleed for strangers. The human fleet launched toward the stars. Below them, the colony was healing. Around them, the galaxy was slowly changing. Word had spread across 1,000 worlds. The humans, the primitive that the Council had dismissed and ignored, had proved to be the most civilized species in the known galaxy. They had shown that strength without compassion was not really strength. They had shown that courage meant nothing unless it was used to protect others. New colonies began reaching out to humans. Weaker species that the Council had never protected, they began asking for human assistance. And humans kept coming. They kept showing up. They kept proving that they were worth more than the dismissal that the Galactic Council had given them. On a quiet evening, months later, stood on a hill overlooking the rebuilt colony. The city was beautiful now. Buildings rose toward the sky. Lights glowed. Families walked through streets that had once been filled with fire and death. He thought about how close his people had come to extinction. He thought about the moment when no one had answered his call. And then he thought about humans, creatures born on a harsh world, creatures that the galaxy had feared and avoided, creatures that had heard a cry in the darkness and had come running. That was the real measure of civilization, decided, not how much power you had, not how many worlds you controlled, but whether you answered when someone called for help, whether you kept your promises, whether you were willing to bleed for strangers. The humans had done all of that, and in doing so, they had changed everything. The people would never forget. They would teach their children about the day when no one came to save them except the humans who everyone had written off, the species that had turned out to be the strongest because they cared the most. And slowly across the galaxy, others began to understand the same thing. They were not to be feared or avoided. They were to be respected. They were to be trusted. They were to be valued not for the weapons they carried, but for the hearts that beat inside their chests. The galaxy had learned that day what humans already knew. That true power came from caring about others. That real strength was measured by how much you were willing to sacrifice. That the greatest gift one species could give another was simply to show up and say, "I will help you. I will fight beside you. You are not alone." And that changed everything. Because the humans had answered their call, that was worth something, that was worth everything. "The humans will build something new," said. "You have shown the galaxy that there is another way, a way based on compassion instead of power. That will change more than any council vote ever could." Hoped he was right. She hoped that humanity's decision to save the would ripple across the stars. She hoped that other species who had been pushed to the edges would see humans and know they had a friend. She hoped that the galaxy was beginning to change. And as she walked back toward the shuttle that would take them to the human fleet, felt something she had not felt before. She felt hope. Not hope for humans, they had always been strong, but hope for the galaxy itself. Hope that maybe they had shown everyone something important about what it meant to be civilized. His skin turned bright blue, the color of joy and hope and gratitude. "Thank you," he said "Thank you for not letting us die alone." Heard the emotion in his words. "We did not do this for reward," she said. "We did this because it was the right thing to do, because that is what humans are." The battle ended an hour later. The remaining forces retreated. The human fleet held position above the planet, protecting the survivors, making sure no other danger would come. And for the first time in days, they could breathe. They could hope. They could believe that maybe, just maybe, the universe was not completely empty of mercy and courage and goodness. "All ships, this is Admiral," she said over the communication system. "We leave in 1 hour. We travel at full speed. They are counting on us. The galaxy is watching to see what we are made of. Let's show them." The fleet moved out from its position in space. The ships increased speed. They headed toward the distant star system where they were dying. And as the engines pushed the ships faster and faster, every human soldier understood that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity was no longer the isolated, forgotten. Humanity had decided to matter, and that decision would change everything. He did not know if they would come in time. He did not know if they would be strong enough, but they had answered. And that was more than the great Galactic Council had done.